YouTube right now.
Okay.
Hey, everybody on YouTube. We are kicking off a brand new week here on The Big Show as we continue on with Spaced Out Radio. Yes, this is me, Dave Scott, in the flesh. And by the way, if you look here, I'm wearing one of the new shirts that we have. I got a Woo Train. Yes, look at that Woo Train. Imagine how good you would look in a Woo Train t-shirt. All you got to do is go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We got a bunch of shirts on there. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. And our guest tonight, by the way, Anna Whitty, she's all the way from the UK. She hasn't slept a wink because she was so excited to get on the air with us. We're going to be talking UFOs all night long. So what I want to do is give a quick roll call here to everyone who's in our chat room so far. Good evening, Steph Dickey. You're looking gorgeous in Florida. Dirty Filth with the silver medal. How you doing? Worsley in the bronze. Nice to see you. Hi, Alan. Good to have you back. G-Man Com 1, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining our chat room for the first time. Peace World, good to see you. Gorgeous Larry is here, everyone. Gorgeous Larry is back. Bigfoot Rob, good to see you. Hey, Boz Monster, how you doing? Boz Monster, by the way, will be signing autographs outside the studio. You got to line up to the right. Takes $1, only $1, and you can get an autograph. Hey, Eric, how you doing, man? Brett Lewis is here, everyone, which means we could officially start the show. Solar Warden, good to see you. The gorgeous and talented Jessica McCreary is back. Good to have you here. Hi, Molotov. How are you? 416, good to see you. The stunning and talented Kira is back. And, oh, look who it is, everyone. Look who it is. From, they call her the Heartbreak Kid. Gorgeous Heather. Yes, the Heartbreak Kid. Gorgeous Heather is right there. Awesome Cat Chaser. How you doing? Blix, good to see you back. And as we scroll down, Steam Train Mark, how is tomorrow looking? Please let us know if we're alive tomorrow in the future. Millennium, good to see you. Thank you. Amy O, welcome to our chat room for the first time. Thank you for joining us. Hello, gorgeous Renee. Thank you for being here. John Swan, good to see you back. Crystal Light, where have you been hiding? Haven't seen you in a while. And Celine, the pride of Oregon. How are you? Hello, Kevin. How are you, Kevin? Thanks for coming, Kevin. Appreciate you, Kevin. Where else are we here? Scrolling down. Stirs Nivette, good to have you back. Desert Clam, thanks for joining us. Magnus, good to see you. Jim Lucier, thanks for coming on in. Cat Chaser, thank you so much for kicking off the super chat tonight. We really do appreciate all of your love and support of this show. Thank you so much. Much love to you. And Project Blue Book, good to see you. Nucker, thanks for coming on in. King of the Forest, good to have you back. Hey, Ghost, boo. I hope it didn't scare you too much there. Lori Oliphant, how are you? Luscious Lori. Yola Tango, good to have you back. Hungry Burrito, nice to see you. Hey, Rich Hilke, thanks for joining us. Off-World Adam, how you doing? My Zoe Buttercup has the cutest smile. Good to have you back, Zoe. And who else do we got here? And hi, Jen A. How you doing, gorgeous? Thank you for joining us. Richard Elmore, good to have you back. Lexi, what's going on, Lexi Fox? Bass guitarist for Steel Panther right there. Gorgeous Marie in LA, thank you for joining us. Appreciate seeing you again. King of the Forest, thanks for joining us. The stunning and talented Tiffany Weiss is back. Yes, make sure you give her a wave. She will be signing autographs to the left. Yes, to the left. We got both lineups up now. So, all right, here we go. I'm getting comfy. By the way, remember a few weeks ago I slipped on my stairs and I ruined my entire right side? Well, I slipped on the stairs this morning taking my son to school, and now I've ruined my left side. Not as bad as the right. I'm a little sore today, but yeah, I was clumsy again, and I realized why now. I did. My shoes that I like to slip on in the morning, they have no tread. It's just like skating. They have none. But hey, Hillary, how are you? Hey, let's say hi to our guest before we bring her on for the show. Anna Whitty. How are you, Anna Whitty?
Hi, I'm really well, thank you. How are you doing?
You are sounding way too perky for someone who has been up all night long waiting for this.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see you.
I'm excited to have you here, too. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. I'm really looking forward to this, by the way. Really looking forward to this. Let's see. Bassmaster, welcome. He's a fisherman. Goes for bass. I've never fished for bass. Oh, let's see. Well, we got about 40 seconds here before we're going to launch. Anna Whitty is our guest tonight. Yes, she is pretty awesome. Hey, brother Eugene, how are you? Jim Morris, good to see you from the UK. Good morning to you. And Anna Whitty, we're like 30 seconds away. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty pumped up here. We're going to turn up.
Yeah.
I got my Woo Train shirt on. My Spaced Out Radio Woo Train shirt, just for you.
That is so attractive, Dave.
It is. I'm not going to lie. It's a good one, and we're going to have some fun here. We're going to get going in 10 seconds. Remember, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. The super chat is open if you want to support this show. We're on in 5 seconds. Here we go. Of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and on KPNL. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocket Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you by going to youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter @SpacedOutRadio and on Instagram @SpacedOutRadio Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find us on our website. Author Anna Whitty loves to take a serious look inside the UFO phenomena. Her powerhouse book that looks exactly at what happened at Roswell, the questionable content, conclusions, and so much more. This lady is a historian. She's a follower of everything to do with what is happening in the sky above. It could be cattle mutilations, alien abduction, MH370, the disappearance of Frederick Valentich, and chupas. Hey, we're going all over the place tonight, including back in time to what happened in 1947. So you got to make sure you check out her book. I'm definitely serious about this one. There isn't much I do know, but I can tell you this. You definitely want to get UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. It can be found on Amazon. Anna Whitty, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Thanks, Dave. I'm really well.
Okay, I got to ask you, what are you doing staying up all night in the United Kingdom to do this show?
Well, it's 5 a.m. and I was really worried that I wouldn't wake up in time, and I was just too excited to go to sleep anyway.
Well, that's good. That's good, because we're excited to have you here as well, because there is so many UFO stories out there that sometimes, A, we get sick of them, B, we've heard them all, C, we just don't know what the heck is the truth anymore, and D, as new authors come on out, we're going to see the rehashment of everything again. So I want to learn about you, and I know our audience does too. What got you into the entire UFO phenomena?
Okay. How weird can I get on here, Dave?
Oh, you can get as weird as you want as long as you don't swear.
Okay, awesome. Well, in lockdown, I started looking at ancient aliens and stuff like that, just as a sort of amusement thing to do, and I found that really interesting, really fascinating. And I started wondering, what's it all about? Why is it always covered up and stuff like that? And I had one day, I was really relaxed in the evening. Let me just say, maybe I had a glass of wine or something with dinner that night, but I was super relaxed. And I had a psychological experience. I think it was like a message from my psyche saying, you should look into it, What it felt like, to be completely honest, it felt like a telepathic message. I felt like I had a like a mild vibration in a specific part of my brain. So I've never had this before, and it didn't feel like a thought or anything else. It was weird. And it came with like a pleasant whole body feeling, and words started coming through to the effect of, okay, you wanted to know if extraterrestrials were real. They are real. Look into it, write a book, and all loads of affirming things about stuff that I'd done in my life and stuff that I might go on to do and things like that. So, I mean, if you take that on face value, I understand that that is weird and mental. But I take it as a message from my subconscious to say, just to give me the sort of confidence to look into something with a totally fresh pair of eyes. So that's what I did. I didn't take anything as read. I looked at everything afresh from the data, and I came up with some new theories. So I can't say that they're true, but they're definitely worth a look.
Okay, so had you had your own UFO or paranormal experiences before this, or was it just something that intrigued you right through?
No, I used to be quite a normal person, Dave.
Didn't we all?
I did once see, when we were driving along the M25, the motorway around London, quite a few years ago, we saw it looked like a big drop of mercury just falling out of the sky with like normal gravity. Couldn't see where it came from. It just sort of appeared as a drip and fell down, but it was so far away that we couldn't see if it landed or where it landed or anything else. So that was a bit weird, and it would be categorized as a UFO, but it didn't make a massive impact on my life or anything like that.
Okay, so you wanted to learn more about this. So as you're watching, just like the majority of people out there, the television shows and all the books, and thank goodness we don't have to go sit in a library
Yeah.
anymore for dozens of hours and taking out dozens of books, because Google literally has saved us from that. Whether that's a good thing or bad thing, that could be argued in a number of different ways. But I have to ask you, in regards to the research, as you started to open up your mind to this all, how eye-opening was it for you to learn that there is something very strange happening, not just with the phenomena, but all the cover-ups as well?
Yeah, do you know what? It was really gobsmacking. And what was most shocking about it wasn't the fact that there was something weird going on, because I knew that before. Everybody knows that. What was weird was kind of all of a sudden coming to an understanding that, almost nobody cares about this. People are going about living their lives, and maybe there's alien life on another world, and maybe it's visiting us, and maybe we've seen it in the sky. Why don't people care more about this? That is so weird. Why didn't I care more about it, before I sort of started thinking about it?
Okay, I want to stop you right there, because I think you just said something very profound. Why didn't you care about this subject before you started researching it?
Yeah, because I think we're just sort of groomed into thinking of it as something that we accept that we won't know about. And we're groomed into thinking that this is something for governments to think about, that we don't have to worry ourselves with. And we're groomed into thinking that not just about this subject, but about a lot of subjects, about the truth in general. We sort of trust our leaders with it and don't bother to look into it ourselves. And I think we really should, this subject and everything else.
Okay, so as you started having your own eyes open to this entire phenomena, and I could just imagine, and I'm trying to picture you sitting in front of your computer or your laptop, or looking at your phone, whatever it may be, and you're starting to kind of delve into this. What was at first the first thing that kind of caught your attention, that this was something that was a little bit out of the ordinary?
Okay. So I suppose the first thing that I started thinking when I looked into it was that there is a clear indication here of something connected to nuclear energy. I mean, that screamed out at me. Just seeing for example, orbs in the sky or tic-tac shapes or bell shapes, and the amount of power that these objects had, you know, the light, you could see light shining through the metal. You know, that's a nuclear reactor. Why on earth is the government saying, oh, we don't think these things exist, or we don't think they're a threat? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Unless maybe the government is aware of them or they're behind them, you know, then you could see why they might have an attitude of, no, don't look at this, no, it doesn't exist, you know. So that was the thing that stood out to me, was a sort of a clear indication that something explainable was definitely happening, and the government was telling us that it wasn't.
Did you feel a little ripped off, not only as a citizen of your own country, but as a person of this planet?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's one thing sort of hiding what you're doing, but don't use my mental health against me to tell me I'm imagining stuff. You know, don't tell us we can't see something in the sky that we can plainly see. You know, that's outrageous.
Okay. So, Anna, as you started going more down the rabbit hole, as we like to call it here, because so many people do go down the rabbit hole, and we're all trying to figure out what is truly going on. At what point did you look at yourself and kind of have that eureka type moment that there was something here that needed your attention?
Oh God, I had so many, and this is what's a bit weird as well. I mean, I don't like to get too weird, but there was sort of synchronicities that started happening when I was looking into this stuff, and when I would figure this sort of stuff out, I would come across a piece of information that pieced it all together. I would get that kind of weird kind of vibration in that part of my brain, and like a really wow moment of, okay, this is significant. There's something, you know, here. So,
do you remember what that piece of information was?
just loads of it, you know, putting together the Kecksburg Bell incident, for example. Just, it didn't make any sense. None of it made any sense. It didn't make any sense as a meteor. It didn't make any sense as the government's story of, oh, we didn't find anything. It didn't make any sense at all until I put it in the context of an aerial nuclear reactor, and that the dots all connected.
I got to ask you, as you started going down the rabbit hole with everything, at any point did your family, your husband, your friends, anybody just say, Anna, what are you wasting your time on that crap for?
Not really, because it's lockdown, so nobody's there. You haven't got anything better to do, and they haven't come up with any theories to explain the UFO phenomenon over the last 70 years. So, you know, they can't really criticize, can they?
Well,
but they haven't had this radio interview yet. So.
No, but there's usually those family members who get a little bit, how could we put it? A little bit concerned. You know, oh, what have you been doing with your time? Oh, I've been checking out UFOs.
Yeah.
And they're like, really? Really?
Yeah, there was a bit of that, I suppose. I told my dad I wrote a book about UFOs. He just said, oh, UFOs aren't really my thing. But such and such a saint so-and-so of such and such a city, he says this and that about UFOs. Okay, thanks, Dad. Thanks for your interest. You're not interested in UFOs enough to read my book, but you definitely know what saint so-and-so thinks about them.
Well, that had to be a little bit shocking. You know, I remember when I, you know, finally got the cojones to talk to my father about all of my strange and weird experiences, and it's one of those ones that absolutely scared me, because my dad is an old country boy from the prairies here of Canada, a good farm boy where he's a five senses guy, and you know, he's never been very religious, and I remembered a few years previous when I had my Sasquatch encounter, I called up my dad and I'm like, Dad, you're not going to believe what happened to me today. And I told him about it, and he's like, you're right, I don't believe you. He goes, and I'm like, he's like, this is our conversation. Dad, I saw Sasquatch today. It was unbelievable. This thing was massive. He goes, no, you didn't. And I said, Dad, I'm 42 years old. Why would I tell you that I saw this thing if I didn't? What do you think I'm trying to pull? And I got angry with him. I don't believe in that crap. Well, a few years later, after I started the radio show, and I finally sat him down. I'm like, Dad, you need to hear this. I need to tell you this. We sat down for about an hour and a half, and it was the biggest relief when he looked at me and he took a deep breath and he was like, I believe you. And then he said, who am I at my age? Who am I at my age to not believe that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
So I mean, it was kind of how can we put it? Odd.
Yeah.
Did you get that kind of feeling?
Yeah, people kind of think that they know better than somebody else what they've experienced. And yeah, it's really strange. I mean, weird stuff has been happening, not just this last century. It's been happening forever. There's loads of documented weird happenings. And I think, that's part of our psyche, whether something is even physically there, even if not, it doesn't mean somebody hasn't experienced it. Our brain is really complicated. If we need to interpret some information that we don't have the context for, our brain gives us some context for it. It puts it in a story that we can understand. This is what all kind of religions are about fundamentally. This is what art is about. It's what music is about. It's what everything is about, is us trying to understand ourselves. And sometimes weird stuff really helps.
How's things with your husband since you've started all of this?
Awesome. Thank you very much for asking. Yeah, he's fine. He's very supportive. He's taken the kids downstairs so I can have my little radio show without the kids. I've never spoken for more than about 3 minutes in the last 10 years without being interrupted by somebody going, Mom, 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 Mom. So this is actually a real pleasure.
No, but how does he feel about you going on the woo train?
Oh, he's fairly laid back. Horizontal, really.
So you're lucky. Do you feel
lucky? Yeah, I
know. Because a lot of spouses, believe it or not, aren't as understanding or knowledgeable because they either A, are scared of the topic, or B, that they are absolutely weirded out that, wondering what the hell did they do on their end to push their spouses down the UFO world.
I mean, he was weirded out. When I had that sort of what felt like a message coming through, it felt external. And at the time, I hadn't had time to sort of process it and think, what is this about rationally? So at the time, I was just taking it as, oh my God, I'm getting a message from, something else or somebody else. And I mean, he was freaked out then. He was like, you're tripping out, come back to reality kind of thing. And I was just like, shh, I need to write down this message.
Did you ever? Okay. So you started getting these telepathic / clairvoyant messages. When those started, tell us what that was like.
Okay, so that it was just once that it was a message in English, and so that was fairly weird. And then, but after that, I started to have a different perspective on what's going on in the world around us. So I felt like I could take myself outside of our culture, which we're sort of swamped with, So previously, for example, I might have spent an evening looking into, the latest measurements of Kim Kardashian's bum or, that sort of thing. Whereas now I can see how kind of celebrity culture is just really just a load of destructive nonsense. And I would spend the evening thinking about how the universe worked and how we started and where we came from and things like that. So the sort of I did have another kind of consciousness type experience after that, and that was when I was thinking about how the universe worked and that kind of thing, and I had my brain sort of went to a different place. Like I felt like I was spinning, and I felt like I saw a load of dots of light that were spinning around, and I was one of the dots of light, but also I was all of the dots of light. And it turned into a feeling, and this is really, really difficult to articulate, that it turned into a feeling like that I could, that everything was one thing, and that I was that thing. I was part of it, and I was the whole thing. It was like a way of explaining, I think, the start of the universe and the nature of the universe. And it helped me kind of understand how connected we all are to everything else. And I mean, that sounds totally mental, and I can't explain any better for anybody. If it was easy to understand in words, my brain wouldn't have needed to do that to sort of make me understand the issues, if I can put it that way. But yeah, that sort of gave me a better perspective about how weird our society's thinking is about a lot of things, about our priorities and our perspectives.
When you started looking at the societies, we got about 2.5 minutes here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour. Were you upset or misunderstood about how mainstream society really hasn't come to grips with what's happening right underneath their very noses?
Yeah, it was kind of, it's kind of, it makes you feel a bit sick to think about how we go around not realizing how important, really important stuff is. You know, there are people suffering all over the world, there are wars going on, and we just kind of block it out. And it just makes you think, how are we doing that? How are we convincing ourselves that, you know, Kim Kardashian's bum is important to think about for 20 minutes a day, and, you know, somebody is in a situation where we could, you know, do something politically to help them out, and we're just not bothered, not even not bothered, but we kind of avoid even thinking about it, you know?
It amazes me. You know, I don't even think Kim Kardashian has that nice of a bum, but that's just me. That's just me. Who am I? Who am I? Obviously.
Yeah, we've all got our preferences, haven't we? She's doing fairly well for somebody who's got an all right bum.
Yeah, exactly, you know. But I mean, the idea behind it is this. Society has done a really good job of being a tabloid slash clickbait society. It really
Yeah,
doesn't want to delve into anything that could be potentially serious anymore.
that's exactly right. And I think our psyche, collectively, a lot of us, our psyche is saying this is not normal. There's something wrong about this, and trying to bring us back to some kind of, you know, good perspective.
And that perspective is what?
That everybody matters. We're all connected. You know, it's not just your kids that matter. It's somebody else's kids. It's, you know, people in a different country, people that look different to you, that, you know, maybe worship differently than you, speak different languages than you. You might think that these people, you might not think about them very much because they're not like you, but they matter equally as much. We all are part of the same thing.
And on that note, and I'm going to get you to hold on right there if you do not mind, because
Okay.
I want to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Our guest tonight, all the way over from the United Kingdom, where it's nice and early tomorrow, we have Anna Whitty. And you can find her book, which is a good one, called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth, on Amazon. We'll get back with Anna and talk more UFOs right after this on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, Anna?
Yeah, really good. Thank you.
You're not as nervous anymore, are you?
No, I've got into the
No.
swing of things now.
Now we stretch. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Hello to everybody in our chat room. And I gotta take a shot.
Oh, look. Thank you, Kira. People are saying lovely things there. I can read them, but I can't.
Yeah, you don't want to listen. It'll screw everything up.
I tried to sign up so that I could join in the conversation there, but you need a YouTube channel.
Yeah, you need a channel which is called like it's not so much a channel as it is just like signing in.
Okay.
Yeah. Finally, I took my watch off.
That's the male equivalent of taking your bra off, is it?
Pretty much. That and socks.
You need a comfier watch.
Actually, my watch is pretty comfy. I've had it on since like 7:30 this morning.
Ah.
So, I like my watch though. Can you see that?
Oh, lovely! Look at that.
Yeah, I love that blue.
Really nice.
Yeah, if it's glaring. My watch. I'll show the YouTube crowd on their camera. See what time it is in British Columbia. Ah, 9:30. 9:30. That was a quick half hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, cold here.
How cold is it?
I have no idea. But
It's -6 here.
Oh my goodness. Okay, it's not that cold. Just feels chilly. I've got chilly fingers.
Yeah.
I need to get another blanket on.
All right. Hello, Steve Stockton. Welcome back. Preston Beckett, welcome to our chat room for the first time, I do believe. Hey, it's Donnie Roswell. Sweet Donnie Roswell. How you doing, buddy? And Mike L., how are you? Thanks for coming on in tonight. And, yeah, we've got a couple minutes here. -6 in Fahrenheit, I believe is about 22, 23. Hold on. Hertz, Celsius to Fahrenheit. Let's go -6. 21.2 degrees Fahrenheit here right now. Oh, -6 is nothing. Nothing. Last year at this time, it was, I believe, -36 degrees Celsius. So if I put a -36 or -32.8 Fahrenheit, that's cold.
Wow.
That's cold, people. I'm going to tell you right now. Like, literally, you could breathe in your nose like this, and you have, like all your nose hair turns to icicles within a second. It's actually kind of cool.
I would get a nose wax under those circumstances.
Yes. Yes. Hi, Nikki. How are you? Welcome. Okay, we've got just over 90 seconds. Oh, -13 in Brandon. Uh-huh. That's still, that's not bad. -13's acceptable. Totally acceptable. The Farmer's Almanac called this year, by the way, that we were supposed, up here in Canada, we were supposed to have a more mild winter. But, yeah, where Manitoba Becky's from, like, it's nothing to get down to, like, -40, -50.
Wow.
Like, that's cold. I've never been in that cold. Never been in that cold.
It has been mild this year, hasn't it?
It has been mild. We don't even have a lot of snow here. Hey, Richard Elmore, how you doing? Let's see here. -1 in Edmonton. Our Oilers lost tonight to Montreal. That sucks. Okay, 30 seconds. Thank you, Awesome Cat Chaser, for the amazing super chat for tonight. T-shirts, by the way, if you order them, will be starting to get mailed out this week. And if you're looking for a T-shirt or SOR swag, Go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We'd appreciate it. That would look really good on you. Honestly, it would look good. Look how good it looks on me with the Woo Train t-shirt. Look at that. It's all good. All right, we got 10 seconds here. Stay tuned. Anna Whitty is with us, everyone. Anna Whitty. Hold on. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We have a great author on tonight. She's kind of new to the UFO world, but what she's found has absolutely intrigued her. Anna Whitty is our guest tonight, all the way from the United Kingdom. She has a great book out, which can be found on Amazon, called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. Anna, welcome back.
Thank you.
I want you to define for me what you mean by the fundamental truth of UFOs.
Okay, that's a brilliant question. Okay, so I think what I was looking for when I started, when I got this sort of message, look into this, write a book, I was thinking maybe there would be an answer, like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's aliens visiting us, or maybe it's something else, And I suppose the fundamental truth is that it's not one single thing, it can be a lot of different things, and the thing that I found out that's most important is about human nature. The search for UFOs is like, in some respects, is like every other human endeavor that we undertake. In the end, it's about searching for meaning in life, what we're here for, who we are. All roads lead to Rome.
Right. So as you started out on this path, where did you start? Where did you find your starting point?
So first of all, I looked at the data. So there's loads of stuff out there about different people's interpretation of the data. So there are sort of the Roswell stories of, okay, so the UFO crashed here. And I didn't want to read stuff that started out with an assumption. I wanted to read raw data. So I looked at some of the observations that Jacques Vallee had put together, and I started with that, with people's observation and listening to what exactly they'd seen. If they say they'd seen a light in the sky, and how that light behaved, that sort of thing. So that's where I wanted to start, with what was going on and what people were reporting, rather than what people thought or what people were led to believe.
Right, and to be honest, that makes a lot of sense, because for many people in the UFO world, the Roswell incident was kind of the thing that kind of popped the cap off the bottle when it comes to this, And what were you able to find there? Because literally, there's been hundreds of studies and peer reviews and books and radio shows, television shows, and documentaries about Roswell. What were you looking for when you delved into that?
Yeah, so there's so much information, but after a certain point, more information isn't necessarily getting you further towards what actually has happened. So what I looked at is the government's report. So I looked at what they were doing around Roswell. And that was actually quite revealing. Not the report itself, that was a load of rubbish. But the data behind it, the appendices that they included, actually had some really useful information about the Mogul balloon system. So what they were doing, what they said that they were doing, was they were inventing a system of transparent balloons that would keep what they said was listening equipment at a certain altitude in the air. So they said they were just listening for nuclear weapons tests that Russia might be doing. And instead of using the listening equipment that they've got all over the globe that is there ready to use all the time, for some reason they wanted to put a microphone up into the atmosphere. Now that doesn't make any sense, but it does get us to the point where they're admitting that they made an altitude balloon system for something related to nuclear development. And so they've admitted they've got this Mogul altitude balloon system that they developed. And although they said it's about listening, there is information in the Roswell Report that looks at just the connection with the whole nuclear sort of military operation. So it wasn't given to a reconnaissance team. It was given to the nuclear weapons team. Now, all this is clues, all this is information that isn't sort of biased by somebody's story or somebody's thoughts about what that means. I mean, obviously, now I've told it, it's biased by mine. But, you know, if you go back to the raw data, you know, that's what that's said. So that's where I went back to, and that's where I started putting things together. And that makes a lot of sense with what might have happened at Roswell and how it's been misconstrued. Because what we know was found there was a load of debris, and it seemed to be really, really lightweight and really indestructible. So something like a weather balloon, but not a weather balloon, right? And I mean, why was it crashed if it was indestructible? If somebody set fire to it and it doesn't burn, and they've bashed it with whatever might they can muster, and you can't damage it, what's damaged it? I mean, a nuclear explosion probably would do the job, right?
Well,
So,
considering that at that time, the U.S. was testing nuclear weapons in New Mexico,
exactly,
and New Mexico was the hotbed of all satellite defense, knowing that the Sputnik satellites were flying over there, over that state every couple of hours. They had to really be careful with the amount of radar that they were putting out there. And I know Stanton Friedman believed that there were two crashes that day, one at San Augustine and one in Corona, which is the Roswell crash, and that he was convinced that maybe the radar combined with some sort of natural weather storm is what led to these two vehicles potentially hitting each other and crashing into each other, then into the ground.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I find it difficult to rationalize how radar could take down a ship from an advanced society. You know, I can't put together in my mind that the cause and effect of that. Whereas I can put together the fact that, you know, World War II had just finished. There were Nazi scientists developing Die Glocke, the bell, which was the Nazi nuclear weapon. And instead of sending those scientists to prison like all the other Nazis, they brought them over to the US to continue the atomic project for the US government. So they had Nazi scientists developing nuclear weapons, and they were doing that in and around Roswell, right? They were developing this system of altitude balloons to keep something related to nuclear development at a certain altitude in the sky, and something, probably quite a few of them, as they were developing this balloon system, would fall out of the sky quite regularly, and people would see this weird stuff in the sky. So that sort of fits together a pattern of events that make a lot of practical sense, for me at least. So sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, that's okay, because I want to ask you. So, how do you explain the two crashes then?
Okay, good. So they used to set off these balloons quite often. So this is information from the Roswell Report. So they said their sort of habit was to get up at maybe 4 a.m. and set off a load of these balloons, and they were testing the development of these balloons, so different materials, the different shapes, whatever would work. So they'd send them off, and they said that they used to set them off at the same time as V2 rockets. Now, that doesn't make any sense from an operational point of view. Why are you doing two different operations at the same time? What it makes sense as is you're saying to people that you're testing some balloons, and they've got no reason to be exploding and falling out of the sky. So if you're testing a load of balloons and they're exploding and falling out of the sky, you need to invent a reason why that's happening. And your reason why that's happening is, oh, we were setting off V2 rockets at the same time.
So you think that these rockets may have shot down these UFOs accidentally?
No, what I think is that the balloons that they were testing had nuclear reactors, small experimental nuclear reactors. That's what they wanted to. That's what they wanted the aerial balloon system for, so that they could do these experiments in the atmosphere. But they needed an excuse to cover up why these things were exploding, because they was telling us that this is just microphones. We're just listening for other people's nuclear development. We're not, sending off our own up there. So if they send up V2 rockets at the same time, they can say, oh, the explosion that you heard when we sent off all those balloons, that was the V2 rocket we were just sending off at the same time. But it wasn't. It's the failure of these early nuclear experiments.
Okay, so what evidence were you able to find that was the case?
So all of the information in the Roswell reports that admits to the mogul balloon system, and it also says things like that it was measuring things related to nuclear explosions. They were looking for optimum. What was the phrase they used? They used something about optimum sort of conditions up there, optimum sort of heights. They weren't looking for. They didn't appear from the data to be looking for a good place to put microphones. So what I found out was they were definitely doing an altitude balloon system. It was definitely related to nuclear development, and the story of how it was related to nuclear development with the microphones didn't make any sense. So that's what I know. That's what I've sort of put together. The assumption that it's nuclear experiments that they were doing is then based on the observations of people saying what they saw in the sky, and what they're reporting looks like nuclear reactors. If you put a nuclear reactor in the sky under one of these mogul balloons, you would see exactly what people are reporting seeing. So massive lights in the sky. Jacques Vallee did some calculations of some of the power that would be needed for the level of luminosity of some of these lights. And he actually made a comment on one of them. This is the level of power of a small nuclear reactor. In my opinion, that's because that's exactly what it was. We've been sort of groomed into thinking that what we see and our observations are not what things are. But maybe they are. Maybe sometimes what we think we can see is exactly what's there, especially if it makes sense with what the government was thinking and trying to do at the time and what they admit to trying to do.
So in conclusion, you believe that this was UFOs, it wasn't weather balloons, and now where's the little gray men?
Yeah, there's a problem there, isn't there? Because although it was unidentified flying objects, I mean, it was only unidentified to the public. Government knew exactly what it was because they made it and they put it there. So the little green men come along because they need a reason to tell people that the things that you see in the sky aren't there. So if they try and convince people this is aliens, let's talk about aliens in this respect, then the people saying, I saw such and such in the sky, everybody else says, oh, you're talking about aliens, you're a bit mad, we're not listening to what you probably didn't see anything in the sky, just making it up. So it's a good way of hiding things in plain sight. If you make an object which you can't hide because it glows, with the power of a nuclear reactor and it's in the middle of the sky, you can't hide it. But what you can do is shame people so much that they don't want to admit to seeing it. And when they do say that they've seen it, other people do your work for you and shame them into kind of doubting what they've seen. So with these particular types of UFOs, the ones that look like a round or tic-tac shape or bell-shaped metal object, I think this is the explanation for it. But there are other types that I can't explain. So there's absolutely every possibility that there are some types of craft somewhere which is something else, or there are all sorts of different things going on. They're not all one thing. A lot of them conform to this type of thing, but a lot of them are clearly something else. For example, you can see some things in the sky. I've seen a lot recently that look like plasma. They look like liquid light. What's going on there? That's not the same as this. That's something else, but I don't know what it is. But the thing is, we could go a long way to categorizing these things and working it out, but we don't, because our society tells us, this is ridiculous and embarrassing and you shouldn't be looking into it. Somebody's put a lot of effort into shaming us not to look into something which is just clearly some sort of phenomena that's happening.
Okay, so do you believe then? I mean, you said a couple of things there that are quite interesting. I think you explained the phenomena of little green men or gray men very well, but you also brought the fact up that on a public display, there is, the public's going to believe what the military or the media tell them, and it's easy to cover that up from a publicity point of view. But isn't that part of the danger of it as well?
Yeah, so there's loads of dangers of telling people that things that they can see, they can't really see. That's just messing with people's mental health, and it's also telling people that they don't have the right to the truth. So you get people used to the idea that don't worry about it, the government knows about this, you just trust them with it, and don't worry your pretty little heads about it. And that's a really dangerous precedent to set, isn't it?
Oh, I think so. Now you also mentioned a couple of times about the acorn-shaped craft that is allegedly have crashed in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania.
Mm. Yeah, so nuclear reactors, they have to be a certain shape. So the nuclear reaction, there are several things that affect it. The type of reflection and the shape and the size and the concentration of the fuel and so forth, right? So all nuclear reactors are a similar sort of shape. If you have a look at plans, if you just Google nuclear reactor and notice the shape of them all, they're all a sort of elongated sphere, like a tic-tac. And you have to have rods that need to push in and out of this, of the interior of that tic-tac shape. So you've got the sort of the go and the stop rods, the fuel and the boron. So if you have a housing for those rods that's attached to the tic-tac shape, it goes slightly wider and it's got a flattened top. So in those cases where you've housed the two sort of together, you get an upside down bell shape. So that's another sort of clue. It doesn't really mean anything until you put it all together, but once you see it, you think, wow, that makes sense. Why is it a bell shape? Why is there a bell shaped metal object that's it entered the atmosphere above Canada, and it was seen by just thousands upon thousands of people rocketing through the sky. There was a blinding flash of light and a sonic boom, and so it was understood as a meteor by a lot of people. But actually, once it got to Lake Erie, it started slowing down and moving in different directions. A meteor doesn't do that. But if you had a nuclear reactor in the sky, in one of the elevated by one of these balloons, let's say, and it went supercritical, that would explain that behavior. Nothing else explains that behavior of an object. A meteor doesn't explain it, and a meteor certainly doesn't explain why they then found a bell-shaped metal object.
Okay. So do you believe then that what we saw crash in Kecksburg was man-made and not of alien descent?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one I'm 100% sure about. Some of them you don't really know, do they fit into this model or not, because the details of, a glowing orb is quite vague. But that one, for sure, is a nuclear reactor. So that's come down. We've seen the way that it behaves in the sky. We've seen the fact that it went supercritical. When it was on the ground, it was noted to be glowing blue and flashing, just brilliantly bright blue flashes. And I don't know if anybody's seen the Chernobyl show recently. They did a drama about it, and that kind of helps you sort of visualize, I suppose. And people saw this. This is how this sort of object was behaving. So there's a crashed object from the sky. It's metal, bell-shaped, and it's giving off a hugely bright blue flash. And every now and then it's flashing. So it's going sort of in and out of supercritical. It's got out of control. And then while they found a lot of the local people, the local firefighters went to have a look for this object, and they found it in the woods. So they've had a good look at it. The metal object, it's bell-shaped. Didn't have any lights on it. So where is the blue light coming from? Coming from inside the nuclear reactor. There's only one thing that can affect making light go through a metal object. Nuclear reactor. It all fits together. And then so the Air Force sort of descends on these people as soon as they find this bell. Get out of here, this is a secret, and so forth. So they kick them out. And then the next thing they see is the Air Force have got a perfectly sized box. It's not big enough to put the whole bell in, but it's big enough to put the contents of the bell in, right? So there's the casing, the metal casing. In my opinion, what's happened is they've opened up the metal casing, they've taken out the reactor core, and they've put it in the metal box that they've got there ready, because they know exactly what it is. It's their thing that they've made, and they know what can happen, this exact thing, and they're ready for it. So it's come down in that particular bit of woods. They are seen to, it's seen with the blue light. They're seen to get their ready-made lead box, carry it into the woods in their radiation protective gear, and as soon as they get that box into the woods, then the blue light stops flashing. Did they find an off switch, or did they open up the casing and put the reactor core into their already made lead box?
I really don't know. We're going to have to continue that conversation when we get back here on Spaced Out Radio, because we do have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight, all the way from the United Kingdom, it is Anna Whitty, and she has a book which can be found on Amazon called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. We're going to find out about Kecksburg, cattle mutilations, more UFOs, ET contact, and one of my favorites, MH370, coming up next on Spaced Out Radio in Hour 2. And I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
The Bruce Van Cleaver is where you can visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose runs at the Rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want...
All right, I'm back.
Oh, Dave. So I've got a couple of things that I remembered that I was trying to say that I got distracted and didn't say.
That's okay.
So is it possible to like go back to the?
Sure.
Okay. Back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think I was trying to make the point about it was Roswell was described as a flying disc, and that term was understood differently in its historical context. Now we understand that to mean a ship, but at the time, that wasn't necessarily the case. They found things that were like 20 inches wide that they described as a flying disc. So I think that's really relevant to let people know, because that's one of the mysteries of Roswell is why did they say it was a flying disc, and we understand why did they say it was an alien ship.
Right.
But that's not what they said, right?
Okay, we'll get into that momentarily.
Okay.
We have about 45 seconds left.
Okay. It's really hard to keep your train of thought when you're kind of going on and on. I'm not used to hearing my own voice for this long.
Well, I know the feeling. All right, 25 seconds. Thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chat. Thank you to everyone who has given us a thumbs up so far on this show. We're going to get going here in a couple of seconds. Remember, you can get all of your SOR swag by going to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. Get yourself a Woo Train t-shirt like I got on right now. Here we go, guys. Hour 2. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hortatory. Hortatory is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we had a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with author Anna Whitty. She is all the way from the UK. She's got a book out called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. And Anna, right before the break, you were wanting to go back and explain a little bit more about some of this phenomena.
Yeah, so a couple of things that I didn't explain that well, I don't think. So one of the things about Roswell is that they came out immediately and said, this is a flying disc. And to us, in this day and age, if somebody says it's a flying disc or a flying saucer, we understand that to mean this is a ship. This is a vessel that carries people or beings. But in those days, that was not the sort of understanding of the term. There were flying discs found reasonably commonly starting in about 1947. And some of them had military tags on, if found, return to General such and such. And some of them were about 20 inches wide, or like the size of a tire or a wheel on a car. So them coming out with a news story that said this is a flying disc was not understood at the time in the same way that we understand it now. All they mean is it was flying and it came down in its disc shape. They don't mean it was the shape or the scale of a ship to carry some people. I think that was what I wanted to say about Roswell. And the other thing was about the aerial nuclear phenomenon. So something else to note about some of the UFO sightings that fit into this category is that with nuclear reaction, you get a few different types of radiation. So you get alpha and beta radiation from it, which cause an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. So this is rapidly changing electric and magnetic fields. And this is something that can disrupt electric and navigation equipment. So this is something that happens quite commonly when you see a UFO. So that's a good sort of explanation of things that people report seeing or experiencing. And similarly, you get gamma radiation, and this is something that can travel a lot further and do a lot more damage as well. So you get a lot of people who have reported seeing a UFO, particularly if they've got quite close to it, report nausea and sickness and burns, radiation burns, hair loss. So all these are signs of gamma radiation. So this, again, sort of backs up the theory of some of these UFOs being nuclear reactors or nuclear related.
Okay. So getting back to Kecksburg, where you believe this was a man-made craft, this was a craft that came over Canada and then ended up going south towards Pennsylvania. I mean, a lot of people saw this. A lot of people have it. Do you think it was on some sort of test trajectory before
No,
it came
I
down?
think they were just. I think they were just trying to keep it at a certain altitude, because if you try this stuff at ground level, the biggest protection that you can get with radiation is distance. And on the ground, there's only so much distance that you can get. You know, there are people everywhere, so you have to have meters thick of concrete or lead to protect from the radiation. But if you can find a way to get this stuff up into the atmosphere, to get your reactor core 20 miles away from anybody because it's up in the air, you don't have to build a load of concrete or comply with any regulations that monitor what's going on in your nuclear facilities, So, I mean, unless an aeroplane comes along, you're 20 miles away from anybody who might be harmed by that radiation. And I mean, there might be certain times where an aeroplane does come along, and then you've got an unfortunate situation. But and I think actually I suspect that has happened a couple of times.
Okay. So you don't believe, though, that there were any aliens whatsoever on that craft, that in fact it was man-made and not from the stars?
Yeah, definitely. Kecksburg was not to carry anybody. Kecksburg was a nuclear reactor. Yeah.
Okay, so throughout time, we've seen a lot of different types of vehicles that were unexplainable. We tend to think the black triangles are these TR-3B aircraft. We've seen cylinders, we've seen discs, we've seen orbs, luminescent orbs in the middle of the day, everything from boomerangs to you name it. We've seen it. People have reported on it. What do you think those craft are then?
That's I think that's another few books, Dave. Yeah, I don't know, because there's less. That's more difficult to sort of categorize. But definitely some of those could be really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I can't give you a good kind of rationalized explanation for those.
No, and that's
but I'd really definitely like to.
That's fair, but I'm kind of shifting gears here in the idea that, do you believe then that we are being visited by different alien species?
Yeah, why not? But the problem is, how would we tell? Because there's so much going on in the sky, kind of our own making, and so much shame about reporting seeing stuff in the sky, that it's really difficult to get a clear picture of that happening. So yeah, there definitely could be. It's not. I do think that most of the things that we see in the sky can't be that, just because the scale of it doesn't make any sense. So if you were on another planet and you were sending scouts out to have a look at our planet and what we were up to, you wouldn't need to send 1 million of them over the period of the last 50, 70 years. But that's the sort of scale of things that we're seeing in the sky. So definitely not everything that we see in the sky can be an alien craft. That doesn't make any sense logically. But some of them definitely could be.
Do you believe, though, that people are having extraterrestrial experiences?
Yeah. Yeah, again, people have reported experiencing a lot of things. And I think there's a number of explanations for that as well. So the obvious one is that you take it on face value. Maybe somebody has experienced a being that's come here from somebody else. And then there could be other people that have experienced somebody trying to imitate that. So maybe, for example, if the government is invested in people believing in this stuff, but they can't tell people, oh, it's aliens, they might set up a scenario to lead people to believe that there are aliens, and they might set that up for a lot of people to make that a sort of zeitgeist of the time, like so in the 70s, for example, there was a big thing of a lot of experiences happening, and I wonder if some of those were staged to get people's imaginations going. And another explanation would be something to do with our consciousness, our psyche. So in past times, people used to see over here fairies, or people used to see religious figures, the Virgin Mary, for example. The thing is, your psyche can't appear to you as yourself. You would go mad if you had a message into your brain that said, "Hi, it's me, you." You'd be like, "What? What are you talking about? You're not me. I'm me, and you're somebody else talking to me." You can't have a message from your own subconscious that purports to be from yourself. Your brain, your subconscious has to purport to be somebody else to give you a message that you're going to accept and understand. So this might be another explanation of what people are experiencing and seeing. It's a thing that they're seeing that they understand because the culture of the time tells them this is a thing that happens, and so it's a way of getting the message to you. So I think there's a lot of things going on, and it's really difficult to even if you've experienced it, it would be difficult to tell which one it was. So it's more difficult to come along and try and categorize somebody else's experience.
No, I understand, because you have to take someone at their word, and that's probably the most difficult, thing we have to do, is take somebody, especially an experiencer of the unknown, try and take them at their word. But let's face it. The truth is always, there's your truth, there's the other side's truth, and then the real truth is down the middle. And that's very difficult, because we're really professing a lot and using a lot on one-sided testimony when it comes to that. So I can understand where you're skeptical along that lines, but when you have people who are claiming to have multiple abductions over time, how do you deal with the idea that aliens are here and maybe even scientifically experimenting on us?
Okay, so I think that might be a kind of sort of misunderstanding that people might get from my book, that I'm skeptical about there being aliens visiting us. I'm not skeptical about that, but I'm just dealing with one thing at a time. I can only categorize and explain one section of observations, but there are definitely a lot of other types of observations that are going on that are just as valid and just as real, but I don't know anything about them, so I haven't written those in the book yet. So yeah, I wouldn't say I was skeptical about those things, but I'm just realistic about the fact that they can't all be explained in that way, and I think we need to have a look at how different experiences can be explained differently. They won't all be the same thing. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. So are there any experiences out there, or experiencers out there, that you have kind of leaned towards telling the truth? Like in your neck of the woods, what about Rendlesham?
Ooh, Rendlesham. Yeah, that's really interesting. Because it does, in some ways, it sort of fits with perhaps a nuclear sort of a related thing. But then there's a really unusual thing about Rendlesham, because the guy had binary, kind of a binary message into his mind when he was next to that craft. So yeah, I don't know what that's about, but that could definitely be something. That could be a message. I think when they translated the binary, it made some comment about observing the human race, you know. So I'm definitely open to that being either way, really. And I think for the most part, you've got to take people on their word as to what they've experienced. And that is what I've tried to do in the book. But at the same time, some of it does have a sort of rational, earthly, in the traditional sense of the word, explanation. So I don't think, I wouldn't want people to take the fact that I can explain this as a terrestrial phenomenon to mean that it's necessary or a good idea to be skeptical about other people's explanations for different experiences. You know, it's two different things.
Okay, and I understand that, and it, you know, the perception that you know, to play devil's advocate here for a second, the perception that a lot of experiencers will say is if you haven't personally had a real close encounter of your own, how could you really try and define what it is?
Yeah, I can't. So we need to work together with the people who have experienced it, and we need to get all this data together. You know, what I've put in the book is the kind of the low-hanging fruit, the easy stuff to explain, because I can kind of identify what it's about. You know, I know what a nuclear reaction looks like, you know, within, you know, reasonable kind of expectations for someone who's not a nuclear physicist, you know, and I can sort of identify that as what's going on. But other stuff that's going on, you know, I'm no help with. This is going to be a team effort. So that's kind of, this is my contribution, but it's going to definitely need a lot more kind of teamwork on it.
Oh, for sure, because I mean, when you start opening up the Pandora's box of the consciousness aspect, or the people who claim to have flown ships, you know, through consciousness. I mean, how far down the rabbit hole can you go? I mean, I know in my community, I have met a young girl. She's, I think, 13 or 14 now. But when she was 12 years old, she claimed that she flew the ship.
Oh.
And,
well,
you know, I mean, that's not something that a normal teenager or preteen would make up just because they want to be different.
No, I think this thing of people making stuff up is a bit weird. We're obsessed about, people must be making it. I really don't think that a lot of people are just making up nonsense. I think that a lot of people are having experiences that are difficult to explain, and a lot of other people are just desperate to believe that it didn't happen, but it did. You know, just because something is difficult to explain in conventional terms doesn't mean that somebody didn't experience it. You know, it's just a case of, you know, what was it? Was it a being? You know, why not? Was it, you know, was it a psychological experience? Was it a physical experience? Was it both? You know, it's just endless possibilities.
Okay. So what do you believe then? Do you okay, let me be more specific, because I think that's only fair. Do you believe people are being abducted?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't think that they are being abducted in the numbers that is being reported. I believe that they're experiencing abduction in the numbers reported. But I don't think the explanation is that extraterrestrials are coming down and doing that. I think there must be another aspect that's going on at the same time. So some people might be being abducted literally by biological beings from somewhere else. Some people might be subject to psychological experiences, either for kind of their psyche is giving them a message through something, or perhaps there was a government sort of mind control project, wasn't there, MK Ultra, where they tried to to do things to people's minds. That could be going on. That could be part of it.
Okay. So how do you draw, as an outsider looking into this, how do you draw the difference between a government lab or a true alien abduction?
I don't think it's possible to know for sure. And actually, I think this is really important. I think probably the people themselves, if they've experienced, they're the only people that've got half a chance of knowing, is this psychological, is it physical, is it both, and who are these beings? If you're outside trying to make that sort of decision based on their words explaining what happened, I mean, you've got no chance, have you really? But I think this is an important thing with not just UFOs, but everything in life, is that we will never know what the truth is about anything. We can't really be sure. Even if we think we're right about something, we might be wrong. And in an infinite multiverse, where every decision you make, there's, gives birth to a couple of universes where one you said no and one you said yes, that there's infinite possibilities. You're always going to be both right and wrong about everything you do. So I suppose the only universal constant is to try and be kind, because you can try and be right, but you will always be wrong in some universe, or there's always the possibility that you might be wrong, even if you're really sure about something. So I think the message is that just try and be kind, try and make a decision that is reasonable, even if you're wrong about everything about it. Does that make sense?
In ways it does. I think it simplifies the experience. I don't mean that to sound rude or crass about that. Please,
okay.
Please don't take that. But I think for people who have had multiple experiences, or even I'm not saying, look, there's a real difference in my world of people who claim to get abducted, and it's in the middle of the night where you can't tell whether it's a dream state or not. And there's a real difference between someone who is walking through a forest or doing a radio show and all of a sudden an alien like Carl pops up at your window. Okay? There's a real difference between things like that. Does that make sense?
Kind of. But, there's, for example, there were those group of 7 loggers who were out there, and they all saw the UFO together. One of them, Travis, got sort of beamed up, and they all saw it, and so they all know that is a physical experience of some kind, whether there's even psychological aspects to it or whatever. That's accepted as a thing that really happened. Whereas if you're in bed at nighttime and something similar sort of happens to you, I don't think we should take that as less likely to be real just because somebody else didn't see it. I think that could be every bit as real as, we don't have to validate our experiences by somebody else seeing it. And I think I'm not articulating what I mean, because I say things like things could be psychological experience. I think that's interpreted as meaning people might be imagining it. That's not what I mean. What I mean is some things, some experiences might be related to your consciousness and some things won't. And it's difficult to tell which one is which, but it doesn't mean that either is less real or that people are imagining things that are actually really happening to them. I just mean it's difficult to tell the difference between the two. And
right.
as a UFO researcher, that's not really probably a realistic hope.
Right.
And
I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we do got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to talk about MH370. Where is it? And we're going to take your questions as well for our guest tonight, Anna Whitty, on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Good job.
Thank you.
Good
Some
job.
of these things are really hard to explain, and you sort of find yourself indicating things that not really what you mean to say. I hope people sort of get it.
Well, let's do a couple of things here. First, we're going to show people that my beard is sponsored by Mighty Moose Beard Oil. Go to mightymoosebeard.com and get your beard oil today. It's real simple, guys. Real simple.
You look amazing. They should do that.
Take a little bit of that, drop it into your hands like so. Rub your hands together, and then just give it a little bit of a little shampoo through the beard, a little massage, and next thing you know, oh, your beard smells fantastic. Just fantastic. Remember, all the prices at MightyMooseBeard.com are in Canadian dollars, which means if you're in the U.S. or Europe or anywhere in this world outside of Canada, except for maybe Mexico, this stuff is pretty damn cheap. Pretty damn cheap. And Gary the Dutchman, he's going to take good care of you because you're going to use promo code SOR2019. So go to MightyMooseBeard.com, get your beard oil today. And for the ladies, just so you know, all right, this stuff also works great in the hair. It helps make sure that your hair has enough nutrients. It's all natural, no chemicals in there. And it also is going to help you with split ends. I know that. We have something in common, ladies. We don't like split ends, do we? No, we don't. So go to MightyMooseBeard.com, get your beard oil, hair oil today. There you go. All right, Anna, back to you for a quick second.
Hi.
Couple questions for you. What's your thoughts on eating breakfast foods for dinner?
Oh, I'm all for that. Ice cream 3 times a day for me.
What about like scrambled eggs and toast for dinner?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I was thinking cereal, but you're going all out there. Yeah, that's dinner.
That's terrible. Absolutely terrible. The hell's wrong with you people over there?
Also, baked beans with everything.
All right. Second question. You remember the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
You know what? Is that the one with the mashed potato?
Yes.
Oh, I have seen that about 15 years ago. Okay. Yeah, I'm casting my mind back.
Devil's Tower. You know what Devil's Tower is? That's the big...
Is that the mountain?
Yeah.
Okay.
You believe it's a tree stump or a rock?
Oh, I need to watch the film again.
All right, we'll let you go on that one. We think it's a tree stump around here. So just side with us. You'll do much better.
Okay, good to know. Now I'll understand the movie much better when I watch it again.
Petrified tree.
Ah, okay.
All right. Water down. Another one to go. Duck Levy, it is a tree stump, okay? You don't know anything because you moved from Canada. So you lost half your memory at that point. Just saying. Hey, Paul Holland, how are you? My beard feels great now, by the way. Little Mighty Moose beard. Oh, yeah. Go check it on out, people. MightyMooseBeard.com. Unbelievable, Anna. I thought you would be anti-breakfast for dinner.
No. I'm not for unnecessary rules, to be honest with you.
Unnecessary rules? They're called breakfast food for a reason.
It's an option. That's a serving suggestion.
We're going to agree to disagree on this.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Knucker, where is Dick Daigle, the former first-round pick? And Knuck, honestly, I'll be honest with you, buddy. I would totally hammer you into the boards. I would. Even if I had to take a charging call, I would. We're going to assume you love Coldplay, too. Isn't that right, Anna?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're a lady. Of course you do. All right. Knucker, you and I are on. You and I are on. You got as soon as that border opens up, okay? You and I are on. Get the ice. Get the ice. We're on. Are we going full gear or partial? Let me know. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Almost lost track of time there. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with the great author, Anna Whitty. She has a book on Amazon about UFOs called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. Anna, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. One of the topics that you get into is the missing flight, the Malaysian Airlines flight, MH370. So take us through a little bit of history for people who may not remember this.
Okay, so this is really interesting, and it's not that unique. Sometimes planes just seem to sort of go missing without a trace, and you wonder, what could have happened that must have happened in an instant for there not to be any communication from those on board about what was happening. How could everything be fine 1 second and then, nobody's able to communicate all of a sudden? So MH370 was flying along, and they were talking to the pilots for about the first 40 minutes or so from takeoff. They didn't report any problems at all. But then all of a sudden, they completely lost contact, and they lost commercial radar connection to it as well. They couldn't see it. It just disappeared. But military radar could still track it for about another hour, but they couldn't contact anybody on board. So nobody's made any contact with anyone. People have phones on planes these days. And so even if it was something wrong with the communication equipment in the cockpit, passengers could still use their phones, but nobody could do anything. It went from absolutely fine 1 minute to nobody's able to communicate anything. So either everybody has died at the same time instantly, or the communication of everybody on the whole plane, including all the mobile phones, has been cut off, for example, by an electromagnetic pulse or something. So I don't know that this is UFO related. It's not classically sort of considered UFO related, but to me, just the fact that it was all of a sudden that something happened that meant that everybody on board was instantly unable to communicate, and then it was tracked by military radar but not commercial radar for another hour, drifting off course. That says to me something happened to all of the people on that plane instantly, but it didn't destroy the plane at that point. The plane was still, but something happened that commercial radar couldn't pick it up. So either something was effectively sort of cloaking that plane from radar, and I don't know if an EMP could do that, but it could be something like a physical change to that plane, to its reflectivity or its shape, something like that. Something happened that meant that the commercial radar wasn't picking up. I don't know what's different about military radar than commercial radar, that they were able to pick it up, that commercial wasn't. So can they see past a sort of, I want to use the term cloaking device. That's because I used to watch Star Trek, but you know what I mean? Something is hiding that airplane from commercial radar that military radar can see through, or something has happened to the reflectivity. So what I'm saying is, this could have been in contact with a nuclear reactor, and that would instantly kill everybody on board. And it could physically change the plane in some way that might affect how effective radar is at picking it up. And I think this is similar to the Frederick Valentich story as well. So he had a small plane, and he was just off the coast of Australia, and he was flying, and he saw a UFO, and he was calling down and saying, look, I can see something weird in the sky, this glowing light above me, and it seems to be sort of tracking me. And this conversation went on for a couple of minutes, and it was when it was directly above him, he made a call that said, it's not a UFO, and he cut off at that particular second, and then you could just hear crackling on the radio, like clicking, like you would, I mean, that to me indicates radiation. That's what you would hear, I think, with if he'd come in contact with a nuclear reactor. If that was what he was about to say, and the radiation could have killed him instantly. Not a lot of things can kill you instantly while you're in the middle of a sentence flying a plane. But contact with if the thing that he was looking at was a nuclear reactor, what appeared to have happened is exactly an explanation for how he cut off right in the middle of his sentence. And the interesting thing is, they never found his plane or his body, even though they spent a week looking for it, and he was in quite close to the coast at the time. It shouldn't have been, I don't think, that difficult to find him or find some trace of him. But what's interesting is that a couple of months after the incident, there appeared on the internet, and it's not on the internet, it's on the internet now, but there appeared to a UFO researcher, somebody claiming to be an American government worker, mailed this to someone saying, look, this is a picture of they were trying to say it was Roswell. This is a picture of not Roswell exactly, but that sort of situation. It was someone in 1947, and this is an extraterrestrial in a extraterrestrial craft, and it's crashed, and this is a picture of that. But what it was a picture of was a pilot in a small commercial plane that had been completely incinerated, like as if it had been in a nuclear incident, a nuclear explosion. It was so incinerated, and the person's body, the head was sorry, this is really graphic. I don't know whether to carry on. I don't know how people are going to. If you need to stop listening to the radio for a minute, do. But his head was, you could see it was slightly enlarged, and that would happen if it was superheated in an instant, like you would get in a nuclear explosion. So this is a picture that somebody purporting to be the US government is trying to say is an extraterrestrial. But what it's a picture of is a guy in a small commercial plane who's been incinerated by a nuclear explosion. And this photograph has surfaced a couple of months after the disappearance of Frederick Valentich, who has seen something that looks like a nuclear reactor right above him and has disappeared in an instant, with then crackling on the radio, and then that completely cutting off after a couple of seconds. So to me, if you put that all together, that's what makes sense to me. Is this is incidents of planes coming into contact with aerial nuclear phenomena.
See, I have a different lookout for
Okay.
MH370. And
Okay.
so I'm going to quickly spin some tinfoil on my head here because I'm about to turn up the woo.
Oh, okay.
All right. I don't believe it was alien. I do believe in a couple of things, though. I do believe that the secret base of Diego Garcia is right there or right near there. And I believe that with the fact that there was 40 Chinese military electronic warfare specialists on that plane, that this obviously brought some attention to the U.S. government, that they might want to have a little peek at what's going on. But here's the interesting thing that really gets to me. When cell phones hit water, especially in that era where not all phones were waterproof, the minute you drop a phone in water, it goes dead. Yet the passengers on that plane, for a couple of days after, when relatives were calling the phones, they were still ringing. The phones were not off. So it would ring a couple of times and then go to voicemail. Usually when a phone is off or been submerged or the phone no longer works, usually it will go straight to voicemail. And the other interesting part about that was a number of the passengers were still logged into their Facebook accounts. So my theory on it, and this is just my theory, I have zero proof, zero. But my theory on it is that craft was not taken down in the ocean. I think it went to Diego Garcia because there was a number of people whom the American military may or may not have had interest in. And sometimes in that ugly, ugly world, bad things happen. And I'm not going to say what I think because I think everybody out there can take a picture of what I'm trying to say without being too vulgar or crass, but that's what I think happened.
I think that's a really good theory, Dave. Yeah.
All right? Because up until this point, there is no plane. There is zero plane. Right?
Yeah, and that works with how the commercial radar couldn't see it because something was shielding the plane from commercial radar. They didn't want commercial radar to see where it was going. That makes sense to me. That's plausible.
But the only two things, like I said, the only two things that weird me out about that, and it could have crashed. It could have. Okay? But if you're on Facebook a couple of days after you go missing, that's interesting.
Although they could have just left their other devices logged in. Like my Facebook is logged in all the time.
Yes.
But I'm not.
But if your home computer goes to sleep back then, okay, your home computer goes to sleep, your Facebook turns off. It shows that you are not in the chat.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's definitely plausible. I think you're onto something there.
I could very well be. I don't know. I could be 100% wrong. I could be. Right? Probably am. But that's just a theory that I have on that. Now,
yeah. Let's just say for the whole of the show, we do admit we might be wrong. We don't want the CIA to off us for being right about anything. So we're perfectly happy to say we might be wrong.
Right.
But it's a bloody good point, I think.
Yeah, and they do believe that pieces of the plane, now, if you Google this, they do believe that certain pieces of the plane have been found as early as July of 2015. At least that's what they're saying.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you take a plane somewhere, you can find a piece of that plane whenever you like, wherever you like, can't you? Oh, we found this piece, you know. It doesn't rule out. It doesn't prove anything as such. It only proves it if you're going to take it at face value that it is the discovery that they're saying it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But
And if they don't have a very good track record of telling the truth, they've only got themselves to blame if nobody believes them, to be fair, haven't they?
well, I mean, that is something that, I mean, it could be argued either way. I mean, some people are going to believe that there's no reason to lie about something that tragic. Others will say, well, you know, there's flags that need to be watched everywhere. So, I mean, it's very difficult to sit here and wonder about what truly happened to that plane. But that's just my theory. Like I said, I could be 100% wrong. I could be.
The governments have done, really terrible things, to be honest, that we've found out about afterwards, and that with hindsight is really, really shocking. So when somebody comes up with a theory like that, I kind of, I wouldn't be massively surprised. I'm not saying it's true either, but I'm saying if it was true, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I mean, like I said, we really don't know. We can only go by what has been reported, and they do believe that that some of the aircraft has been found, not all of it, just pieces of debris. But the funny part about it is, I mean, these planes are so advanced. These planes are so advanced that you think they'd be able to track it a lot better. The only way they can't track it is if it, I believe, if it goes below radar, which I think is what, 500 feet? 500 feet, I believe.
Yeah, but they had it on military radar, so they know where it was going. But somehow all of those people were unable to communicate at all for all that time. Something caused those people to be unable to communicate. And if they were fine, health-wise, enough to check their Facebook, or somebody to check their Facebook a few days later, then what happened? Somebody has caused there to be an issue with communication on that plane.
That's the story. That's the story. Now, like I said, there have been alleged pieces of this craft that have washed up on shore, or not on shore, but that have been found. So, I mean, we'll see where it is. We'll see where it is. But it's an interesting case. It really is. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. Probably am. Just sometimes it's fun to wear tinfoil. That's for sure. That's for sure. Let's move on here a little bit here, because earlier you mentioned the story when we were getting into MH370 about Frederick Valentich. Now, this is an interesting case because you believe he was, pretty much burnt by some sort of nuclear radiation that was flying around. Now, do you believe this is something that is happening frequently, and if so, by whom?
Yeah, the U.S. government have released details of the Mogul balloon system, which we know was attached to their nuclear weapons military division. So we know that their nuclear weapons people were trying to put altitude balloons in the sky. We don't know why, but we can assume that it was to attach nuclear devices to. I think that's a safe assumption. Obviously, again, no proof, but that's the only thing that makes sense. They weren't attaching nuclear devices to it. They wouldn't have given it to their nuclear device people to do.
Okay, why do this?
Why do it? Okay, so either it's a nuclear weapon, or it's could be a psychological weapon. But I mean, that's a very expensive way to do a psychological weapon. Presumably, if you put a nuclear device in the sky, it's because you want a nuclear device there, not because you want a big light in the sky or people to think that there's something there that there isn't. So I assume that this is just a continuation of the Skinwalker project. They wanted a nuclear device that they could fly around for, I guess they would call it, defense purposes. But yeah, effectively they want a nuclear weapon that they could fly. But it could be, alternatively, it might be why they'd give it to their military, I don't know. But it might be a method of nuclear experimentation for nuclear power purposes. At that time, sort of 1947, they were still working out how to make fission for nuclear power purposes. So it might have just been that they wanted to do it in the atmosphere because it was then sort of 20 miles from anybody around, rather than having it in a building where they might cause a lot of damage or have to, or they might risk people's lives, or they might have to build, meters and meters of concrete and lead and stuff. But the thing that most makes sense, given the context that it happened in, is that it's a weapon.
How long have they been trying to, or let me rephrase this. What proof do we have that this is something that they have been building as a weapon?
Well, we know they gave it to the nuclear weapons division of the military to do. We know that they, in the nuclear weapons military division, they were developing constant altitude balloons. They say that they were doing that to attach microphones to. I don't think that's true. They have a lot of divisions of, various, they have a reconnaissance division. They didn't have to give the military weapons people this task of developing balloons if it was going to carry microphones. That doesn't make sense. What makes sense is they gave it to the military weapons people because it's a military weapon.
But is that even worth? Like, is that a North American weapon? Is it a NATO type weapon?
Well, we've only got the U.S. government's information on it, so I'm assuming it's their weapon. But they, like anything else, they can share that with their allies, can't they? But yeah, it's the U.S. government that were developing it. They're the ones with their hands up in 1947 saying, "Yep, we gave this task of developing constant altitude balloons for nuclear purposes."
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah,
that's heavy. Now, are there a lot of reports? Like, does this weaponry fly on military craft? Like, can a fighter jet be carrying this?
Yeah, it doesn't need a fighter jet. That the point of the balloons is that they can put it up there, and then it sort of stays there by itself, and it can be carried by currents. So if you know where the wind sort of currents are going, I suppose you put it up there at the right point, and it will carry it over to, I don't even want to say a country because that's not appropriate, but it could potentially, it can carry itself there. But I'm sure that was the idea in 1947, and since then they will have been working on a way to propel it.
Interesting. Because we haven't seen that, as far as we know, as we got about 45 seconds left, play out in any of the war zones that we've had the last 20 years.
Yeah, not yet. So nuclear weapons is really it has been frowned on, thank God. But we have seen radiation weapons in the form of chupas. So that's a disturbing development.
Always is. Anytime it gets to weaponry, it is. It's kind of the reason why I kind of like living in Canada.
Yes.
Honestly. We throw a couple of, light little tugboats in the water, we got a navy. Just that simple. That's simple. I shouldn't insult our great troops like that, but no, nonetheless. And I'm going to get you to hold on here because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. For the next 30 minutes after we come back from break, we have, all the way from the United Kingdom, author Anna Whitty. She has a book out on Amazon called UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. When we get back, let's get into animal mutilations. Why not? Let's end up on a high here. Then we got the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay, no worries.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
The party is always on. The Moose Van Cleaver is where you visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose runs at the Rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and click on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. Take it from the top.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefucked?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is the tall man Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to get the whole over his wife from Space Out Radio fan. It's amazing music and
All right, I'm back. Got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay.
Hey, Game Vet, welcome back. And so when we get to the next break, just hold on, and I will say goodbye to you during the break.
Okay.
Yeah. So that usually works a little bit. Works nice. Ooh, excuse me. Works nicely. And And you having fun so far?
Yeah, it's really good. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. I've had a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
All right, we got about 1 minute here. 1 minute. Big thank you to Cat Chaser for the amazing super chat tonight. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up on this show. Remember, great way to support this show. Do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. You get great shirts like I'm wearing my Woo Train shirt tonight, people. I'm wearing my Woo Train shirt. You need some of this stuff. It's good stuff. High quality. Didn't go for the El Cheapos that will rip after like a week and a half of wearing it. Nope, we didn't do that. So make sure you check it on out. We'd greatly appreciate it. And facebook.com/the SOR Vault. And yeah, go from there. We got 10 seconds here, everyone. So make sure that that you hang on out. Here we go. Hour 3 right now. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. We want to thank all of our stations who are listening to us around North America on the radio side and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that all of our archives are free. All you got to do is go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Hortatory. Hortatory is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce author, and she's all the way from the UK. Anna Whitty is with us. Her book, which can be found on Amazon right now, is UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. Anna, thank you so much for joining us tonight. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure so far, so thank you so much for being here with us. I want to ask you about these mutilations, these cattle mutilations, because they always seem to cause a little bit of a stir. They're as grotesque as they are. You know, there's still a lot of people out there who are experiencing, and farmers are experiencing, strange phenomena with their live crops. What's going on here?
So this is really strange, and there have been cattle mutilations for like a few centuries, but it's really rare. Up until the late 60s, early 70s, and then there's just an explosion of this happening. And at first, it was just in America, but there are incidents elsewhere around the globe. But it certainly is. Does seem to be concentrated in the US and started off there in the late 60s. So what happens is you get an animal, usually a cow, and it's horribly sort of mutilated in a really strangely surgical way, and that isn't done on site. What seems to happen is the animal gets picked up, taken somewhere. They do some surgery on it, which doesn't seem to make any medical or research sense. So they take out organs that aren't related to each other, really, like, you know, for example, the eyes and the genitals. And then they make the effort to bring the mutilated carcass back to where they took it from. And that's the really strange thing about it, because when you're trying to work out why something is happening, most of the efforts so far seem to be kind of thinking about what are they getting out of the surgery. But my perspective on this is I don't think they're getting anything out of the surgery. I think the whole point of it, what they're getting out of it, is the shock value of returning a mutilated carcass. Otherwise, why go to that effort? If you needed a cow's genitals, you could take the cow and take that part of it and then just dispose of the cow. You don't have to go to the trouble of returning the cow to the field where you got it from. That's only to shock. And in my opinion about who's doing it and why it's going on, the late 60s and 70s is sort of when the idea of UFOs were really taking off, and it provides a good kind of distraction again for the US government. They seem to be involved kind of all over the UFO phenomenon, and what it seems to be is people like William Moore, kind of government sort of mouthpieces. They come out with stories and leaks of I worked in such and such a US government department and they know this and that about UFOs, always trying to put out that UFOs are the answer to something. And then officially, of course, the government can say, oh, no, that's all nonsense. And it's all about creating confusion and fear. And the thing about governments is, not just modern governments, but always, if you've got a population that's confused and scared, that's an obedient population. They're going to do what they're told, and they're going to be happy to part with a lot of money and trust you to make a lot of investment in defense or offensive weapons, because they feel the need to be protected. So all of these things sort of come together and indicate that this is an operation by American military, a sort of a gaslighting operation in order to get the population to believe that something weird and scary is going on that they don't understand. And if you look at the FBI did an investigation into this, and they were really reluctant to, which is weird because there were so many cases of it, and this was costing cattle farmers, thousands of pounds in the 60s. It's a lot of money, and also it's really strange. Why wouldn't the government want to investigate? They're so reluctant to, but after a lot of political pressure, they did agree to. And they published a report which said the usual, natural causes. But if you look at not the report itself again, but the information appended to the report, so the information that they should have been looking at and taken into account when they wrote their conclusion, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. So there was a police officer, Officer Valdez, that spent quite a few years looking into the details of a lot of individual cattle mutilation cases. And every time they got a case, they would send it to a lab. And every time the lab would tell them, oh, this one died of natural causes, or we can't find anything weird about this particular one. And eventually, after a few years, he spoke to some of the assistants, the lab assistants, who revealed to him that actually what they had been finding was drugs in the kettle's blood system that they had not been reporting to him. So something was going on, and for some reason the lab was covering that up. We don't know why, but we can enjoy speculating. So these cattle were being taken, drugged, something was happening to them, and then they were being dropped back to where they were, and this was by helicopter. So there were loads of cases where helicopters were seen at the site of cattle mutilations. This was one of the classic signs of a cattle mutilation site, was there would be helicopters there at the time. But this was just information that was totally ignored by the FBI in their investigation, as if something like that would be totally irrelevant. And then on the carcasses themselves, there were strap marks. So the cattle had been strapped presumably to the helicopters that were seen in the area at the time and carried. and then some of them showed signs of being dropped from height. So what we know from the facts are that the cattle were picked up and carried through the air. Something was done to them. They were drugged. They had surgery performed on them, and then they were returned to the site they were taken from by helicopter, strapped up, released, and dropped to where they came from. So my theory is that this is a gaslighting operation by the U.S. military for political purposes.
Why do that, though? That doesn't make sense.
Okay, because first of all, if you're doing stuff in the sky, like you've got your nuclear reactors that you've sent into the sky to make your aerial nuclear weapons, and you need to gaslight the population enough to convince themselves that either what they see is not, to either trust the government more than they trust their own senses. Okay, that's difficult. You know, to say to somebody who's looking up in the sky and seeing something, okay, you're not seeing that, it's not there, that doesn't exist. You know, that takes some psychological damage. So they have to invest in this if they're going with that as a sort of MO. So this is all part of creating a story. You've got to have your people that believe in UFOs. You've got to create the evidence that they are alien rather than just people or a mix of the two. And you've got the people who don't believe in UFOs at all, even if they can see them in the sky because you've told them no, they don't exist. So it's all about a kind of sort of lying to people and making sure that they trust you more than they trust their own senses. And they know something weird is going on, but they have to trust that the government knows about it because, you know, the alternative is perhaps too scary to contemplate, or, you know, it's all about maintaining political power and maintaining control of the narrative of what's going on.
Okay, so there's been a lot of educated people who have looked at this, from David Paulides, Butch Witkowski, scientists across the land who have looked into this phenomena. And the one thing that they've always stated was how precise these laser type cuts are. And, you know, it's basically saying that any type of human type of cut would have some sort of serrated edges. How do you explain that?
Okay. Well, they say that, but often the military is way ahead of the rest of everybody else in terms of technology, aren't they? And at the beginning of this phenomenon, it was noted that the surgical skill was seen to improve over time. So, you know, that doesn't make sense in terms of this being an extraterrestrial phenomenon. That makes sense in terms of being people getting more practice over time and getting better instruments with technology over time. So this isn't a static process, which it would be if it was extraterrestrial. You know, their technology, if it's, you know, thousands of years ahead of ours and they were doing this, you know, it would be the same the whole way along. But it wasn't. It started in the late 60s, you know, precise, but not exactly so. And then as the years went on, more and more precise and more impressive in terms of technological sort of advancement and skill.
Okay. So they have also stated that this phenomena has been recorded at places like Skinwalker Ranch, which would mean that if it's happening at a place like Skinwalker Ranch, then are they doing that to themselves in order to try and create some sort of hoopla over the subject?
Yeah, a lot of these cases happen near military bases. I mean, that's just sort of convenience, isn't it? Really, it's a good place to start. But yeah, I don't think they're particularly picky about whose cows they use. You know, if they just wanted let's say if it was extraterrestrials and they just wanted some cows, they just need some cow eyes and cow genitals, they wouldn't need to make a big thing of picking up particular ones from all over the country. They'd be able to take a couple of cows and breed their own and not make a big thing about it. But the whole point of this exercise is to make a big thing about it. It's not for the eyes and the genitals that they're taking. It's for the shock value of the returned carcass.
Okay, but at a place like Skinwalker Ranch, how would they do that?
How do you mean?
How would they? There's so many military scientists and government scientists working there, claiming, including Brandon Fugel, the owner, claiming there is strange phenomena happening there, including cattle mutilations. Why would they subjugate themselves to that?
Yeah, but if it's the government that's carrying out this stuff, there's different government departments. The people who are there doing something else aren't necessarily related to this government department that's carrying this out. But they wouldn't rule out necessarily doing this on their own land. I don't think that rules it out at all. To me, it makes sense. If I was the government and I was trying to convince people that some weird thing was happening, I wouldn't not do it on government land. I would do it all over the place.
Okay. So it's not just cattle, though. It's horses, it's goats, it's dogs, it's cats, it's wolves, coyotes.
Yeah. First of all, it can be anything. The point of it is not what animal it is. Again, that goes to kind of back up the argument, really. It's not about biology. It's not about something medical, I don't think. It's about the impact of people seeing and discovering that this weird and unexplainable thing is happening.
Okay. That I can see where you're going with that. I'm just trying to figure out why do this.
Yeah, in terms of this is the only explanation that I can come up with that makes any sense, because having cattle mutilations doesn't benefit anybody apart from if you consider the political ramifications of having a population who has a confusion about something, a disagreement between, divide and conquer. You've got certain people that are thinking different things about what's happening. You've got people who are in fear of a threat to them, which makes the government more powerful. This is a classic political strategy. It's not classic to do it through mutilating cows, but it certainly is classic to scare your own population, to make them more obedient and more to make your government more powerful and more able to do things in terms of expansion of weapons and expansion of control. People are happier to be under more control if they feel that that's going to help them be protected from a threat. Whereas any other explanation of this, doesn't make any sense. If you were an extraterrestrial, what would you gain out of doing this? Why would you give back the mutilated carcass? Even if the medical stuff made sense, you wouldn't go to the trouble of then returning the carcass.
So what's the purpose of throwing the carcass back? Do they want people to see this carcass?
Yeah, they want people to see it. They want it to be a thing. They want the media to report on it. And they want people's opinion about what's happening divided. And ultimately, they want people to have an underlying unease about there being a threat out there.
Do you believe they're testing it out on people too?
No, I don't think so. But I think the problem is once you've got a bunch of people trained in doing this, you'll have some people who are involved in it who then, retire out of the military, and they've got these skills, and you can't control that. And that's no problem to a government who's trying to spread some kind of unease, because you get some random weirdo who then goes out and kills someone in the style of these cattle mutilations. I mean, that only works in your favor, because first of all, you didn't do that under your government, so you've got excellent deniability. You've got the fact that it's spread out beyond the area that you control, so you can say, oh, it definitely wasn't us. So I don't think they're doing it to people, but I think that once you've started this kind of project, it can go out of control quite quickly, and it's no skin off their nose if it does. It only damages, people and, cattle farmers, and that's a price that they're willing to pay for political power. There's only one thing more important than money: power.
Okay, I get that, and I can appreciate that. But do you believe then, if this isn't happening to people, what do you think is happening with the average of 65,000 Americans going missing on an annual basis without a trace after they whittle that number down to 65,000 from the fact that there are murders, there are kidnappings, there are people who go missing, suicides, people who just want to start a new life. They still can't account for 65,000 people.
Yeah, I wouldn't have connected the two, to be honest, Dave. I think that's a bit. I haven't got any sort of evidence or any kind of indication that the two are necessarily connected.
Okay. You think the aliens are grabbing people and taking them away?
I really hope not. What do they need 65,000 of us every year for?
Well, maybe we don't travel that well.
Oh my goodness. Let's hope that's not the case.
We have only about 90 seconds left with you tonight, and I want to say a big thank you, Anna Whitty, for coming on Spaced Out Radio and talking about your wonderful book, which is UFOs, A Fundamental Truth. Where do you go from here?
I think interesting about what's coming up with the report that we're due in 6 months' time from the US government, and to see if that's more a sort of continuation of trying to cause alarm with a couple of examples and then a threat narrative, or if it's going to be like a bunch of information that they release, like a database and some analysis. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one and seeing what more information there is to come out and what we can make of it.
Any more books in the works?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm just not sure what about yet. We'll see what the information points to.
Well,
I'll have a think about it.
Well, the good news is, there's a lot of information coming up with the 180 days, with what's happening around the world with this phenomena. How much will we get to know? And Anna, I know you're going to be right on top of it. I want to say a big thank you to you for coming on Spaced Out Radio, literally staying up all night in the United Kingdom to make sure you didn't sleep through this show. And we're glad you didn't. You were a lot of fun. And for the first time, thank you for coming on the Mighty SOR.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a brilliant time.
Oh, it's going to be great. And it was great. And I look forward to seeing what you do in the future. Keep up the great work. We need more outside opinions like you have on things. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we have Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned as we round the corner and look to take this show home. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, Anna.
Thank you
we'll
so
give you some
much.
claps.
Yay!
Wonderful. Just wonderful. Good job.
Well, thank you so much. You were just so brilliant. I didn't think I'd be able to talk for 2.5 hours, but we did it.
We always do. We can figure it out. We're pretty smart. Pretty smart. But I want to say thank you for staying up. I know it's real early there for you, and hopefully you get to catch up on some sleep.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to try and do that now. See if I can persuade my husband to have the kids for another couple of hours. I can get some sleep.
Oh, hopefully he will. Hopefully he will. Well, thank you so much, and feel free to, once this show goes into archive in about 45 minutes or so, feel free tomorrow or whatever, if you want to share it, go right ahead.
Brilliant. I will. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, Anna.
Bye.
Bye-bye. She was fun. She was fun. I'm a fan of hers. Fan of hers. Yeah, she is like 8 hours ahead. It's like 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning there. No, 8:30. Yeah, about 8:30 in the morning there. Don't forget that Dave is broadcasting from BFE. The hell is BFE? What, you're leaving us already, Miss Pickles? Are you going to tighten up the beehive? Is that why you're leaving? Mm-hmm. Aliens, people. Aliens. What it all comes down to. A little bit of aliens. I did. I've been to San Francisco twice, and speaking at UFO Con there, I've been to a couple in Washington State, and COVID ends soon. I might end up doing one this summer in Vegas. Be really cool, but the borders have to open up first. Denbub, I am in a small town called 100 Mile House. Almost at the central part of the province. Kira is an alien from a foreign world, everyone. Hi, Cat the Kit. What do you mean, no Carl window? I got a Carl window right here beside me. Just blocked now. Den Bub, you lived in 100 Mile? Bim Jim is from Seashelt. He speaks like Macho Man Randy Savage, too. Hey, Polar Eclipse from Tampa. I hope so, Eugene. I hope so, my friend. If you do, buddy, I got a big hug for you, and we're definitely going for a beer and some dinner. Love me some Eugene Braxton. Dude is the real deal, man. All right, 5 seconds before we go. Thank you to Cat Chaser for the super chat tonight. Here we go. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this thing, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the ufological. The CIA's decision to declassify more than 3 decades worth of UFO documents is a real-life X-Files, according to Nick Pope. Yes, the Brillo Pad himself, a former employee and UFO investigator for Britain's Ministry of Defense, said that there are some fascinating documents in the files, where there are more than 2,700 pages. However, the odd manner in which they were released and the difficulty searching them will fuel conspiracy theories. He says there is an irony in the UFO community expecting to find a smoking gun and material released by an organization they believe is part of a cover-up. And recent revelations about the Pentagon's ATIP program and the UAP task force suggest anyone looking in CIA files for the answer to the UFO mystery is looking at the wrong agency. Well, way to be right up front with that one, Nick. Way to be up front. Perhaps there are the documents the government wants people to see. A bit like a magician who does something flamboyant with one hand to draw people's attention, while the important thing is going on in his other hand behind his back. The ATIP program was formed in 2007 at the behest of Senator Harry Reid, who formerly the Senator of Nevada. It reportedly ceased operations in 2012, but we know that isn't true at all. The recent documents released were uploaded to blackvault.com, a government-centric website run by John Greenwald Jr., good friend of this show, who obtained them via FOIA requests. Last year, Greenwald purchased the CD-ROM that was created by the CIA. In a statement on his website, Greenwald stated, "The CIA claims this is their entire declassified collection," but added there's no way to verify that. Research by the Black Vault will continue to see if there are additional documents still uncovered with the CIA holdings. By the way, had a good conversation with Luis Elizondo today. We have booked him for February 25th, so that's going to be a good one. Anywho, if you don't like stinky things, this may not be your story. This Gwyneth Paltrow candle didn't pass the smell test at all. A candle named "This Smells Like My Vagina." Yes, you heard me correctly. A candle named "This Smells Like My Vagina" that the actress peddles on her Goop store exploded into flames in the living room of a UK woman who won the odoriferous product in a quiz. The candle exploded and emitted huge flames with bits flying everywhere, said Jody Thompson. "I've never seen anything like it. The whole thing was ablaze and it was way too hot to touch. There was an inferno in the room," the media consultant from Kilbourne, North London added. Thompson, who lives with her partner David, said they were through the candle They threw the flaming candle out the front door. It could have burnt the entire place down. It was scary at the time, but funny looking back at the Gwyneth's vagina candle exploded in my living room. Yes. Yeah, this candle, by the way, Paltrow charges $75 emitting her private scent. She made a candle that smells like her hoo-hoo. Scent notes include geranium, citrusy bergamot, and cedar absolutes juxtaposed with damask rose and ambrette seed, according to her online store. This candle started as a joke between perfumer Douglas Little and Gwyneth. The two were working on a fragrance when she blurted out, this smells like a vagina, but evolved into a funny, gorgeous, sexy, and beautifully unexpected scent. The post, yeah. Do any of us really need to smell or figure out what Gwyneth Paltrow's private parts smell like? I don't even know where to go with this. Don't even know. We're moving on. 12 miners trapped underground for more than a week in a Chinese gold mine have managed to get a note to rescuers. The Xinhua News reports that the note confirmed 12 of the miners were still alive following the blast on January 10th. 4 are said to be injured, while the fate of 10 others is unknown. The workers wrote that they remained hopeful, but that they were in need of medical supplies. The scene at the gold mine still has a rescue effort quite underway. The note said, "We are heavily exhausted and in urgent need of stomach medicine, painkillers, medical tape, external anti-inflammatory drugs, and 3 people have high blood pressure." Rescue efforts have been underway since the blast occurred about 800 feet from the mine's entrance, trapping 22 workers around 2,000 feet below the ground. Rescue workers are reported to have first heard knocking sounds from those trapped on Sunday following by pulling on iron ropes. The explosions and deaths are not uncommon in Chinese mines. In September, at least 16 workers in southwestern China died after they became trapped underground in a coal mine and exposed to unsafe levels of carbon monoxide. In 2016, dozens of workers were confirmed dead after a gas explosion at a coal mine in the city of Chongqing. You know, that is one job I would never want. Oh my gosh, that would just be horrible. Being trapped underground like that just freaks me out. Let's head to Canada, shall we? And let's go here. You know, it's a cute little story about a butterfly, a monarch butterfly, that missed its Mexico migration and decided to spend the winter in Manitoba with a grateful family. It's kind of nice to have Freddie in these COVID times. It's a little bit of a distraction, said Debbie Tonner. The colorful insect likes to sit on the south-facing windowsill of Tonner's home in Selkirk, soaking in the sun during the day. So Tonner set up a cozy space with a soft towel where Freddie watches squirrels and birds and gets visits from neighbors curious about the winter stranger. Monarchs are common in Manitoba in summer, but typically they make the 3,000-kilometer journey to Mexico in the fall. Tonner and her husband Tom are retirees and empty nesters, so the house is quite quiet these days, especially with the pandemic going on. Freddie has helped to fill that void. We'll sit here at the dining room table, and he's beside us on the window. It's kind of comforting. He's very much part of our family now. When I go to get him in the morning, he always flutters his wings and reminds me of a puppy wagging its tail. He's always excited to get out of the enclosure and go to the window. Tonner feeds him a mixture of honey and water, which is poured over a warm slice of banana and served up in a pill bottle cap. Occasionally, she spices it up with a little soy sauce to provide some salt. The family adopted Freddie after Thanksgiving, Canadian Thanksgiving that is, after a friend named Michelle found the butterfly on her driveway. She was loading up her car and was amazed she hadn't stepped on him because she had been back and forth a couple of times, and it was a cool day around 10 Celsius. Butterflies are cold-blooded critters, and a few can fly in temperatures below 13 degrees Celsius. When the family took him in, he warmed up and fluttered around, and that's just the way he is. I think he just says, you know what, Screw this flying 3,000 kilometers. I'll just wait here because the other idiots are coming back in just a few months. I think this is a smart butterfly. I do. I think he's smart. A 70-year-old woman from Queens, New York, has been accused of trying to poison her husband by repeatedly spiking his coffee with ant and roach killer. I'm telling you, gentlemen, watch out for this one on Tinder, because I don't think her husband's going to want her back. She's going to be single, and now we got to be aware. Suncha Tinevera allegedly put the insecticide in her husband's drink on 2 or 3 occasions, according to District Attorney Melinda Katz. Tenevra, was seen on surveillance videos squeezing a white powdery substance from a bottle with a red cap and yellow label that she kept under the sink, the statement said. Detective retrieved a bottle from her home on January 14th, according to the label, contained 100% boric acid for killing ants and roaches. Appearing before a judge, Tenevra was charged with attempted assault in the second degree, reckless endangerment in the second degree, and criminal possession of a weapon in the fourth degree. A plea of not guilty was entered on her behalf. If convicted, she can face up to 4 years in prison. Domestic violence is not limited to mental and physical abuse. The defendant in this case allegedly used deception to sicken her spouse. The victim did become sick, but thankfully did not die, according to District Attorney Katz. I'm telling you, beware. Soon she will be on Tinder, Plenty of Fish, you name it, Match.com. Beware, she's coming. The ant poison lady. There's no doubt that perseverance can go a long way sometimes. A video game recorder and creator set out to get Elon Musk's attention and finally, after 154 attempts, succeeded. So, the CEO of SpaceX actually finally answered this gentleman's question on Twitter with an enthusiastic response. The independent developer of video games, Lyubomir Vladimirov, promised to publish the same message for the Daily Businessman for a year. His intention was to ask Musk for permission to develop a game inspired by SpaceX, his space exploration company. Dear Elon, I am a game developer and I am making a game about the colonization of Mars with you and SpaceX. If you think it's cool, all I need is a go-ahead to use your name and logos. I will post this every day for a year until I get a yes or no, day 154 of 365. Well, after 22 weeks of prodding, Musk finally answered. You can steal our name, logos, and we probably won't sue you, the SpaceX CEO replied. After receiving the long-awaited response from Musk, the tweeter promised that the good part of the video game's profits would go to SpaceX. I want to give 80% of the profits for the game to SpaceX. In that way, the game will not only serve the important purpose of entertaining people and arousing their interest in Mars, but will also help Elon Musk and SpaceX to achieve this. Vladimirov has shown that he has wasted no time while waiting for Musk's permission. In his profile on Twitter, you can find several videos of what he has created on the interface of the game. It's kind of cool. Here's a good humanity story. A teenager from Georgia who spent months walking several miles a day to get to work now has a brand new car, and it's all thanks to one woman's act of kindness. Jaden Sutton, a high school senior from Cobb County, made the trek on foot each day from school to his job at a restaurant and then back home. The teen was determined to work and make enough money to eventually buy his own vehicle, as his mother was recently laid off and her car was totaled several weeks ago. I knew if I had to walk to work every day to get a car, that's what I was going to do, Sutton said. If I had to walk home, then that's what I was going to do. Sutton told people that he'd get out of school about 3:30, then walk miles to his job, about 7 miles. After his shift, which usually lasted between 6 and 8 hours, the teen would make his way home, sometimes not arriving back until almost midnight. But that's all changed because of this angel named Lavonda. Yes, Lavonda Wright saw Sutton making his way down the road one day heading to work. He was walking really fast down the road, and my son stopped me and tapped me and said, "I think that's Jaden." Wright decided to drive Sutton, a classmate of her son's, to work that day, but as time went on, Wright felt that she needed to take matters into her own hands and help out the teenager. She created a GoFundMe page last month with the sole purpose of raising funds to buy Sutton a new car. The fundraiser, which had an initial goal of $4,000, raised more than $7,000. Wright was eventually able to buy a car for Sutton after she managed to convince the general manager of the Nally Honda dealership to drop the price of the vehicle to meet the budget. I just want to say thank you a million times. You don't understand how much the teen told Wright after he was gifted the car. Wright documented the moment she gave Sutton his new vehicle on Facebook, sharing a photo of the pair smiling while standing right in front of the car. Good job. Good job. We need more of that. We need more of that in this world. On October 19th, 2017, Canadian it scans the sky each night. Well, what he saw was some near-Earth objects, which are mostly asteroids, but there was a dot of light that kept catching his attention, moving more than 4 times the speed at almost 200,000 miles an hour. He alerted colleagues who began tracking the dot from other observatories. They looked a little bit closer. They got a little bit more puzzled. The object was small, with an area roughly that of a city block. As it tumbled through space, its brightness varied so much. Yeah, we're talking aliens here. At least, I am. It was an interstellar object, a visitor from far beyond the solar system that was just passing through. In the dry nomenclature of the International Astronomical Union, it became known as 1I 2017 U1. More evocatively, it was dubbed Oumuamua. Yes, even interstellar objects are cruising on through. The question is, where are they coming from? What are they doing? Where'd you come from, Cotton-Eyed Joe? Now, Avi Loeb is looking into this. He believes that this is space junk. And we've talked about that before. I think we're getting some real interesting stuff here, and it's only the start. It is only the start, now that we know what to look for. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is as follows. Cue to Reaper by Bumblefoot, by the way. What is something you'd like to know about UFOs or ETs? Andrew, simple, their entire history. Mark, how do they fly? Zach, why are they such jerks sometimes? Canadian Joe, do they sanitize the probes between each use? Mickle, why are they so covert in what they do? Davey, I would like to know how much they and us share or have in common. Genetics, spirit, surroundings, consciousness, history, future. Ian, what is the earliest recorded sighting of a UFO? 13 ballads. Are the shape-shifting reptilians responsible for old European folklore, such as the Drakes and Knuckers? Carl, do they name candy bars after astronomical objects like we do? Linda, why do they like 3:33 a.m.? The others, either ETs or interdimensional, seem to. Hypocrisy. I was thinking, and maybe it's a theory already, that the tall whites were babies of the grays because the lack of gravity in space would make humans taller as well. Maybe they are prohibited babies, like the Chinese having babies in America to escape the status quo. Or they love babies, 2 grays that just couldn't wait until they got home. Or some such, I don't know, darn hormones. Maybe aliens are pro-life and don't care about defects. Who knows? Who knows? Let's move on here. Twin Rose, I'd like to catch a ride in an extraterrestrial UFO just to see how it works, and then ask to talk to the ETs that maintain it. God created aircraft maintainers so pilots could have heroes too. Oh, that's actually a good statement. Good job, Twin Rose. All right, continuing on. Dorothy, other craft is powered. Carter wants to know why they took him years ago. Science Bob, how do I master my consciousness and move beyond the physical? Damien, it's everything. their world, culture, religion, history, the science, and their technology capability. Preston, why some people are good enough to be abducted and others aren't. Tim, are they from different dimensions here, or can they truly cover the vast distances? If so, are these sightings just probes or scouts? James, what weapons do each species have, and who are they aimed at? Jack, many abductees see dead people on the ships or experience some other spiritual phenomena in connection with abduction, so I'd like to know what the connection is between the spiritual and the alien. Laura, why here for us? Haven't you figured out that we are crazier than bedbugs? Yes, I could see them coming down and interacting to the Earth, a marvelous place, and diversity of plants and animals, but us as a species? Nah, maybe they never seen such different kinds of mental health issues in a species. That's kind of funny. Are you one? Asked Mark. Kira, are they us from the future? If so, can they tell us what to change to make it better? Uncle Dale and his power stash. Why do they so often appear to be piloted by drunken teenagers? Gail, what's their purpose in visiting Earth? Deb, I know what I need to know. Scarlet, endgame. There's always an endgame. And finally, let's go to Eugene to have them confirm their true interest in the nature of our souls and their involvement with life after death. Oh, that's very nice. Very nice. I think we got time for one or two more here. Jeanette, why can't you use your own or mind your own damn business? Scott, if they are members of the human race visiting from the future, are they seeking ways to clean up our act? Kevin, Dave, I've seen them in all factory colors available, and I am just not that impressed. Is there an on-site body shop that does custom work? Should I choose to purchase from your firm? Thank you to everybody participating in the thought of the day. We'll do it all again on Twitter and Facebook tomorrow. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the news and to Anna Whitty for coming on talking about some UFOs. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Big thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Spreaker, LGAB, Rev Radio, our website, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, say it with me, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Not bad. Not a bad way to kick off the new week. Not a bad way. Watch you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there. Somewhere. Watching me. You dirty bastard pervert. Do. Hello, Corrance. Hello, Corrance. That was kind of fun, wasn't it? Who's ordered their beard oil tonight? Be honest. Twin Rose Brewery. Have you? Where's Super Quest? I know he's here somewhere. Hey, could you give us a little disclosure about what you and Lou talked about? We talked about him coming on the show. How he's going to be very open with all of us. And now that he has the freedom to talk. And he looks forward to it. He looks forward to being part of our, part of our crew here, and answering some questions. I will say there is a good chance that night. Now, the cool part about it was, like, one of my biggest complaints with the TTSA was that they actually one time asked me to supply questions in advance. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. And said I wouldn't do that. That's not fair to my audience. And, excuse me. And so that was the closest we ever got. But now that he's no longer under contract by the TTSA, he has a little bit more freedom with whom he talks to and about what, which is really cool for us because I do know, I don't know if any of you caught the interview he did with John Greenwald on the Black Vault, but he stated on there that one of his complaints about the TTSA was that he was disappointed by the way they were controlling the media narrative and kind of ignoring the UFO community. He didn't, and we'll ask him that. We'll get confirmation on that when he's on the show. So, I mean, there's a lot we're going to talk about. I'm also working on a couple other things right now that I cannot get into. But eventually you guys will all hear about it if it pans out. That's what I'm hoping for. And if that works out, then kind of all good. Kind of all good. But I don't know, and I'm going to ask him on here, but my audio seems low, apparently. I don't know why. I'll turn that up. Can you hear me okay now? I got to redo the audio here again. Me and Chuck. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. I'm gonna ask him on the air, but I have a feeling he's an experiencer. I do. I don't know if he's been public with his experiences or not, because I know he's done certain interviews with people that I just won't pay attention to because it's not worth the time. Especially the fake journalist crowd. I don't need to worry about stuff like that. Give me 2 seconds here. On, we'll get back to Spaced Out Radio. All right, cool. So we'll test things out. I'm gonna go take him to places that I haven't heard before. I want to know if he's an experiencer. Brutus, Dave, do you ever wonder if at least some of the woo is part of a communist plot to discredit people? No. There's a way I could answer that, but it's going to get me in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. So I'm just going to bypass that one, and I am going to say no. Do you think something followed him home? Followed who home? Followed who home from Bledsoe's? Followed who home from Bledsoe's? Hey, DM from Red Deer, Alberta, home of the Rebels and the Sutter family, who now seems to congregate there, and in Viking, Alberta. Do I believe in reincarnation? I'm not sure yet. I'll tell you when I come again. Brutus, don't apologize for that, dude. Don't apologize. I just there are certain things that I have to be very wary of what I say and what I don't say, and at times it's difficult to keep my mouth shut. You know, and it's funny. Corrance and I will talk every now and again, and I'm like, damn it, dude, like there's just so much I want to say, you know, whether it's about COVID or whether it's about politics or whether it's about a lot of these ignorant conspiracy theories that are out there, like Carrie Cassidy was promoting this past weekend, just a bunch of garbage and bullshit. And I really think it's quite wrong for the entire community. I think it's, you know, one of those things. You know, and as a pseudo public figure, where I have to be careful with what I say at all times, unfortunately there are certain things that I'll say privately that I just won't say publicly, or it's weird because I got a few people in my life, Captain Shirk included, that love text messaging. Absolutely love text messaging. And, you know, text messaging, in my opinion, and this isn't a fault of hers or my buddy Merle or anybody like that, but there's certain things I just will not discuss on text message. Absolutely not. And you know, like if I'm putting together a private story, like where I'm working on an actual news angle, you know, I don't want that on text message, just in case, you know, somebody accidentally shares it or whatever, right? And everybody, I mean, this field is so bloody cutthroat at times that everybody is looking to get information out, and that's not really the way I like to play things. I like to you know, there are certain things, like I was talking to Captain Shirk today about a story I'm working on. You know, there are certain things I can say about it. There are certain things I won't say about it, right? And you know, but you got to be careful with whom or what you say. It's not because you don't trust the people. It's because that, you know, sometimes it's kind of like, hey, you know, this person said this or this person said that or whatever, and don't want that traceable, right? Just don't. Sucks because you always have to be on alert. You can't speak the way that you want to speak. You know, that's why I love like people like Rich Giordano, where he doesn't give a care what he says. You know, in some ways that's dangerous, in other ways it's not. You know, in other ways it's, you know, him being him and being truthful to him. I'm not saying that we're not being truthful, but you know, Rich does a great show. He's his own boss. I have to answer to people. I have radio stations to answer to. I have digital stations to answer to. I have a business partner to answer to. You know, that's kind of where things get a little bit difficult. Like I can't sit there and say things that I would like to say. Not that I'm very conspiratorial, because I'm not. You know, but I have questions. I have questions. And all of you should have questions too. Right? Hi, Linda Bennett. The gorgeous and talented Linda Bennett is here, everyone. Do we ever find out who is going to be on from TTSA? Lou Elizondo. Lou Elizondo. Captain Lou Elizondo. Lou Elizondo. Little Pantera. My questions are not who, why, or where. The question I have is how. The question a lot of us have. A lot of us. What's the over-under on kids conceived at the Vegas meetup? I'm going to say 0 for me. I'm done in that ability. About time, too. My daughter turned 22 yesterday. 22. Where the fuck did time go? My baby girl is 22. Terrible. Hey, Howard. Yes, hit me up privately and I'll send that to you, Howard. Open this up. Hear that? Nope. So on Sundays, I've been trying to get to bed before midnight. I made it to bed at 11 last night. I forgot what it was like going to bed before midnight. I haven't done it in a long time. Kind of cool, actually. Actually, believe it or not, you wake up refreshed. Just saying. Weird. It really is weird. Just saying. Not really used to it. Any other questions while we're downloading? Tomorrow night on the show, we have a gentleman named John Carty. You may know him best as... Oh, for God's sake, just update you. Here. You may know him best as Wreakin' Havoc 215. Wreakin' Havoc 215. Sometimes he's in our chat room. But he's got some damn cool experiences that we needed to bring him on. It's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. John Carty, everyone. John Carty. How about the Ewok Village? What am I doing? Hey, the Ronald Penton. The Ronald Penton is here, everyone. Hey, Denbub, where are you right now? DM in Red Deer. We haven't got it yet here. What do I think about Baron von Raschke and his mandible claw? It was one of the most torturous moves ever in wrestling. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that guy's crushing the skull. He's crushing the skull. It was amazing that nobody could ever get out of that. Vicious move. Not as bad as the camel clutch, but vicious nonetheless. Steam Train Mark. Dave, would it be all right if I sent you a PM about a crash recovery of a UFO I had the other day heard the other day on a podcast? Yeah, just don't send me the podcast, dude, because I honestly don't have a lot of time to listen to them. Hey, Cordon's the booking guy, just so you know, because I know you're still listening. I'm going to give you a quick call right after all this is done. Quick call. Okay? I just got to mention something to you. By the way, for all the ladies out there, Cordon's the booking guy does have a superfluous third nipple. Good night, Jenny. That one's done. And that one's All right, we're going to start wrapping this thing up here, people, because old Davy's getting a little tired. But we'll do it all again tomorrow. You're all invited to come out and play. I hope you do. And it would be wonderful. And my hair will look good. I hope you guys all look good as well. And yeah, we'll talk about some personal experiences with John Carty, aka Wreaking Havoc. It'll be good. It'll be fun. We'll talk to you all tomorrow night. Thank you for everything you guys do. You guys are real special, and I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow.